Hey guys, it's Dawn here, and today I'm going to show you how to take an article and spin it in a way that it will be approved even by a tough human review process. As you guys probably know, things have really changed on the internet in terms of article marketing, and it's not good enough now just to throw up a crummy article or one that's, you just hit the spin button and throw that out there. It won't work. Most article directories now are human reviewed. So I'm going to get right into it because it's a bit time consuming and I'm going to make this video as quick as I can, but keeping in mind this is a really tedious and boring process. Okay, so I want you guys to stick with me through this because it's totally worth it. At the end of this process, you're going to see that I'm going to have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of unique articles that I can use all over the internet to cast a wide net, because that's the whole thing with internet marketing. That's what you really need to be focused on, is just getting out as much content as you can, but it has to be good. It has to be readable. It has to be the English language, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So what I have here is a PLR article, PLR. If I, I'm a little dyslexic today. It's a private label rights article that I bought from the MLM PLR store, and all that means is it's an article that I am licensed to do with whatever I like. So I'm going to take that and open up my best spinner, and I've just cut and pasted it into here. Okay, so I didn't write this article. It is not an original, and if I were to post this up, I would get hit with duplicate content. Like, I probably wouldn't get indexed in the search engines. So what I want to do is just go through this and spin it so that I can have a unique variation of it that I can use, and I want to be able to use it on hundreds of article directories because I want lots and lots of backlinks. So I would challenge anyone who says article spinning is a dead art. They're crazy, because there's no other way that I can think of or that I know of to create as much content as fast as you can using this method. It's probably going to take me half an hour to do it. I might just pause the video and go through it, but I want you guys to get the gist of it first. So what I want to do is spin in layers. What a lot of people do, and this really isn't working as well anymore, is spinning on a word level. Like, for example, if I wanted to spin the word trap, I would just highlight it, and you can see that I could click on these other synonyms for it, and every time I spin the article it would substitute in one of these synonyms. Okay, so that's the basics of article spinning, but what we need to do is actually spin it on a different level. So I want to undo that. What I want to do is spin it on a paragraph and then a sentence and then a word level. So that's why it gets really time consuming. What I'm going to do is click over to paragraph, and you can see now that it has highlighted the first paragraph, which is really my title. But what I'm going to do is spin a couple variations of this. And so this is where you have to have a good command of the English language, for one thing, because you are going to have to write creatively somewhat. But what we're going to do is just think about what's another way to say easy ways to get more exposure for your blog. We could type blog exposure. How to get more of it. Right, not a super strong title, but it doesn't matter. We're just looking for unique content. And I'm going to spin each one a minimum of 3 times. So I'm not going to keep talking through this whole thing, really, but if you guys watch, you'll learn a lot, and you'll be able to do this really quickly. I just want to get through it as fast as I can. So here we go. Easy ways to get more exposure for your blog. Okay, so that's my 3 variations. Okay, I could do more if I wanted more uniqueness. I could get more unique content by creating more, but for our purposes, we're just going to do 3 layers, or 3 different spins. So avoid the trap of spending a great deal of time and money perfecting a blog that looks awesome but doesn't get seen by people who are looking for what you have. Okay, so what I'm going to do is spin this so that it's the opposite. So it's going to say, So you can see what I've written here is somewhat the same as the last sentence. So many bloggers waste energy producing great content but fail to get noticed. So I've written a variation of that. It's longer. It really doesn't matter. And now I'm going to go back up to the first sentence. Avoid the trap of spending a great deal of time and money perfecting a blog, blah, 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 right? So writing a blog that no one sees is a waste of your time and energy. Okay, a lot shorter this time, but I'm going to add that. And so now I've got, you can see up here that I've got two sentences that are inside of the spin brackets. And so every time I spin this, every time I get a new variation of it, it's going to give me one or the other of those two paragraphs. So that new paragraph is a completely new paragraph. No one's ever written it before. I would assume that they haven't. So a lot of blogs never get seen at all. Okay, so I've written another sentence that is, I'm just saying the same thing over again in a different way. So you have to get a little bit creative. You got to think of different ways to say the same thing. But because one of the sentences, it's already written for you, so just make up a new way to say it, right? So you're really not being that creative, let's be honest. You just have to know how to say a sentence in a different way. So some of the plainest blogs out in cyberspace are the ones that get loads of consistent traffic because they understand how to get their content all over the internet. So we could say, knowing how to get your content out, content spread all over the internet is key to getting more blog visitors and visitors, let's say visitors, readers, and subscribers. Every strategy I will share with you here today is free. The following let's go a different way. I want you to pay close attention to the free strategies I'm sharing with you in today's article, as they are a powerful way to help you get more traffic to your site. Add. Okay, so we've got two variations now. So rather than bore you guys going through, I think you can see how I'm going to spin this on a paragraph level. Well, now that I've got three paragraphs, right? I've got three different paragraphs inside of this bracket right here, and I've got three in here. So now what I'd want to do is spin it on a sentence level. So what I need to do is click over on sentence. If you have a different spinner, it's going to be a little different process, but you're looking at doing the same thing. You want to spin it on a paragraph level first, then you want to get down to a sentence level, and then you want to get down to a word by word level. This is why it's time consuming. So avoid the trap of spending a great deal of time and money perfecting a blog that looks awesome but doesn't get seen by the people who are looking for what you have. I'll say the most important thing you need to keep Okay, so I've just added another sentence. The most important thing you need to keep in mind when promoting your blog is that you want your traffic to be targeted, have people who are really interested in what you're offering to visit the site. Okay, so that's just another way of saying avoid the trap of spending a great deal of time and money perfecting a blog that looks awesome but doesn't get seen by people who are looking for what you have, right? It's not exactly the same thing. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that it is a real English language sentence that a human reviewer wouldn't be able to say, I think that was spun, right? Because it wasn't spun, it came out of my brain. Okay, so let's write one more. Um, let's say spending all your time perfecting your site layout and tweaking your content will not help you in your quest to get more visitors to your site. Okay, so that's pretty much saying the same thing, right? So then we'll go down to the next sentence. So you can see that it's changed to a different color because now you've got a spin inside of a spin. If you don't get that, it doesn't really matter. What I'm doing is just going sentence by sentence. See, and because I'm on this sentence tab, as soon as I click on a sentence, it highlights. So this is the sentence that I'm going to spin next. So many bloggers waste energy producing great content but fail to get noticed. If you're not getting loads of traffic to your site, it probably has nothing to do with your content, which I'm sure is great. Okay? Again, not saying exactly the same thing, but it's close enough. No one's going to say that it's not proper English, which is the main thing. So many bloggers waste energy producing great content but fail to get noticed. Bloggers who spend too much time are often surprised by their lack of traffic and not enough time on promotion. Often surprised by their lack of traffic. Okay, so now I've got 3 different variations of the same sentence, and if I click the tab button, it takes me to the next sentence, which I'm just going to spin this paragraph because you can see it can become very time consuming. That's why I typically only do this with a 500-word article. I don't want to do it with a 1,000-word article. Would be here all day. If I wasn't, having a running commentary, a 500-word article takes me anywhere between half an hour and an hour, depending on the article directory that I want to put it in. I really want these to be good quality. I don't want to ever get that email that says no, that your article has not been accepted, because that's time and money down the drain, right? If you're putting out content that is not getting accepted by the article directories, you're wasting your time. That's the bottom line. So you want to do this right the first time. If you spend, say, half an hour to an hour doing this, I'm not even writing my own articles, right? So I'm not even wasting my time doing that. You grab your private label rights content, you spin the article, it takes you an hour. Now you've got 100 pieces of really high quality content because you've written it. You're a human being and you've written it yourself. And if English is your first language, this is going to be really easy for you. It's a really good use of your time, is what I'm trying to say. So back to what we're doing. There are too many bloggers who spend lots of time writing content but whose blogs never get noticed by the search engines or get any visitors. That's kind of what the last sentence said, but that's fine. Writing content is hugely important. a lot more to getting a top spot on the search engines. And excuse my dog snoring in the background. As you guys know, I never kick her out. This is her domain as much as it is mine. So, and you know, sometimes I get slowed up here. Content often never get any search engine traffic. Period. End of story. Next sentence. Writing a blog that no one sees is a waste of your time and energy. Right? And because we spun this paragraph earlier on, I'm now going into each one of the paragraphs and spinning the sentences. So it seems like I'm rewriting the same thing over and over again, which is kind of what I'm doing. But what it's going to do is give you a ton of unique variations in your articles, and that is a good thing. You can see right now we're at 13% unique, and what we want to do is get over 60%. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue so you guys can see this part of it. Then I'm going to continue, finish the article, come back, and so you guys don't have to sit through the whole thing. But you'll be able to see the finished content. And this article will definitely get approved by the article directories because I'm actually taking my time to do it. So writing a blog that no one sees is a waste. Don't waste your energy and time. See, I've changed it from time and energy because you just want to make it as varied as possible. Writing a blog that no one will ever see. The biggest waste of time for a blogger is to write a blog that no one ever even lays eyes on. Okay, so we've got 3 variations. Tab over. A lot of blogs never get seen at all. Too many websites get buried in the search engines, never to be seen by another living human. Right? We're just trying to think of creative ways to say the same thing. The saddest thing is that a lot of the best content ever created never gets seen by anyone but the blogger. Alright, we just said the same thing 3 times. Tab over. Their writers focus a great deal of time and energy on writing great content but fail when it comes to the most important part. Forget to okay, so it's kind of really similar, but it's all good. Bloggers spend hours and sometimes days researching. Fair enough. Good enough. And getting real live people visiting and reading the posts. So we'll say driving targeted traffic to the articles. And that, I'm just going to go back up here because I forgot to put a period. And that it's really important that you always use the right punctuation, use the same punctuation. So let's highlight that again. Now this is a little mistake that I've made. Clicking out of your sentence sometimes can really throw you off. So let's see if I can get back to it. Okay, so it's not going to let me back into that sentence. So you can see that these are the two sentences that I was spinning right here. And so to write another variation, I'm actually going to have to jump in here and put the syntax in. So you can see that to divide two sentences, we've got this, I don't even know what you call it. Some people call it a pipe. I don't know what you call it. It's on your keyboard right above your enter key. And I'm going to put it right here and add a pipe in there. And put in a new sentence that means the same thing as driving targeted traffic to the articles. Getting lots and lots of eyeballs on the posts. Period. Okay. So you can see now that I've completed this. I've completed this paragraph. So I've spun it on a paragraph level. The next thing I want to do is to spin it on a word or phrase level. Okay, so this is where these underlines come in, because this is a phrase, right? Content is, submissions are, content articles are. So you can see that writing content is hugely important, or it could be writing submissions are hugely important, or I could say writing content articles are hugely important when it comes to having a great blog, right? So you just want to make sure now when you're on the sentence or the word level that you need to make sure that it makes sense. So I'm going to go up to this to the top here. We didn't have any paragraphs exactly. This was only spun on a sentence level because it was the article title. So I'm going to say easy and highlight easy. We'll say simple, straightforward, quick, and you want to only use spins that really make sense. So easy ways to get more exposure, simple ways to get more exposure, straightforward ways to get more exposure, quick ways to get more exposure. All of those make sense, right? So now if I hit tab, it'll go to ways to get. I can click on methods for getting, because straightforward methods for getting more traffic to your blog, right? That would make sense. Straightforward, the way to get would not make sense, and automatically you would not get into the article directory because they would know that you were spinning it. So that's why you need your own human eyes on this. And like just a quick hint for you guys, you don't have to do this yourself. You can find an outsourcer to do this. You know, send them this video to teach them what you want them to have done. Send them your PLR content and have them spin it for you. You don't have to spend days doing this, but just know that you need somebody who has an excellent command of the English language. Otherwise, it's not going to be right. So with that being said, ways to get, methods for getting, quick ideas wouldn't work, quick techniques for getting, techniques for finding I probably wouldn't go. I'm just going to stick with those three. So we've got easy ways to get more exposure for your blog. So more, ways to get a lot more, extra, significantly more. That's good enough. So now we've got straightforward methods for getting extra exposure for your blog, right? Significantly more exposure for your blog, or a lot more exposure. It all works. Exposure, we could say publicity. Limelight, not so much. Exposure, so you go down, it doesn't make as much sense. Coverage doesn't really work in this situation, so I'll say exposure or publicity for your for one's blog. You could say for one's blog, or for your personal blog would make sense. But for the blog, that wouldn't really make sense, right? Because what blog would they be talking about? So then I'll tab over to blog, and I could say for your web page, your website, web blog. Nobody really uses that word, so I would, like, if I was the human reviewer reviewing it, I probably would kind of raise a red flag and look at it with more scrutiny. So really be careful when you're spinning your headline, because if your headline sucks or it looks like it was spun, you're toast. Nobody's gonna take your article if it looks like it's spun. So let me try some coffee here. Okay, tabbing along. Blog, we already said web page, website, not weblog, right? Your blogging site, probably not. So blog exposure, blog publicity, blog could probably say blog advertising or something, but I think that this is going to be enough. Blog publicity. How to get, ways to get, the way to get, probably not the way to get. Or we could say learn how to get more of it, right? Tips to get more of it, the best way to get more of it, here's how to get more of it, how to attract more of it. They all make sense. Where to get more of it. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that, but you can see right now that this is going to be a highly unique article, because every time I spin it, it's going to be different. So now I'm going to get more of it, even more of it, get a lot, attract an increased amount of it, sure, of it. This, nah. I'm just going to leave it at that. So we'll leave it at the end. It's fine. Getting more. Getting good exposure for your blog. Receiving targeted exposure for your blog. That's a great one. Acquiring more exposure for your blog. Obtaining more exposure for your blog. Driving more exposure for your blog. Not so much. So I'm going to tab over to exposure and say publicity. So obtaining more coverage for your blog would actually kind of work in this case, but I don't like that word. You just have to, kind of get a feel for it. So more exposure, publicity for your personal. For ones you could use on your. I'm just going to leave it at that and say blog, web page, website. Fine. So you can see now that this, and I'm going to show this to you actually right now where it stands. If I click on spun article, it's going to give me one instance of that. So obtaining more exposure for your blog. Now if I click on new spin, quick methods for getting a lot more exposure for your personal website, right? It's still English, but it's completely different. Simple techniques for getting extra exposure for your personal website. Totally different, but again, perfectly legible English. Nobody's going to question it. Web page exposure, ways to get even more of it. Web page publicity, how to get more of it. Simple techniques for getting extra publicity to your personal web page. This is absolutely perfect English. Even an English professor would not know that this is spun copy. Okay, so when somebody tells you that article spinning is dead, they're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about, because if you're doing it right, there's no difference between this and something that you wrote yourself. So don't listen to that noise. It's not true. And there's no better way to create a lot of content really fast than to do it this way. So I'm going to tab back, avoid the. I'm going to say steer clear of, stay away from the trap, right? Steer clear of the trap, and capture, steer clear. So if you had just clicked the spin button, steer clear of the capture might show up, or steer clear of the entice. Those wouldn't make sense. So we'll say steer clear of the lure, the pitfall, the mistake, right? Those things make sense. So steer clear of the lure of spending a great deal of time and money, of and I'm just going to leave of, spending, investing, or wasting. Those all make sense. But if I said paying a great deal of time and money, probably doesn't make that much sense. Shelling out a great deal of time and money. If it was just shelling out money, I might say that, but I'm not. In this case, it doesn't make sense. You don't shell out time. So a great deal of. So stay away from the mistake of spending a great deal of, or a lot of, or too much would be what I'm looking for in here. I don't see it. And if you don't see what you want in here, so if I want to say, stay away from the mistake of wasting too much time and money, so I could just type in too much, right, and add that. Time and money. So I could say money and time, time and expense, time and cash, cash and time. All of those make sense. So I could just click on there. But if I wasn't sure, I could say money and time, time and expense, cash and time. Or I could just say time. Perfecting. So refining. Constantly repeating, applying, bringing together. None of those really make sense. So refining a blog, your blog, but that doesn't make sense now. Perfecting your blog that looks awesome, right? A blog that looks awesome, a website that looks awesome, a web blog that looks awesome. We don't use the word weblog, so I'm not going to use it. That looks, that seems awesome, that appears awesome. I'm just going to leave it that looks, because the other ones don't really that appear awesome. That looks amazing, that looks wonderful, that looks impressive, right? That looks spectacular even, but yet, right? Yet doesn't get any traffic. Nevertheless, though doesn't get any traffic, doesn't make sense, but and yet makes sense. It doesn't get, does not get, or isn't getting, but isn't getting seen, isn't getting noticed, isn't getting found, isn't getting discovered by the people. Now, so discovered really kind of doesn't make sense, so I'm going to tab back and say just leave it at 3, because even with 3 variations in one sentence is plenty. By the, and I don't see anything else that makes sense, so I just keep tabbing. By the people who are, by those people who are, by individuals who are, by folks who are looking for, searching for, seeking, who are interested in what you in the things you have. I'm just going to say in what you have got. You could put, you could say, instead of just have, you could say have to offer and add. Now, the most important thing you need to keep in mind. Now, if I put it is important, you need to keep in mind, that doesn't make sense. It is essential, you need to keep in mind. What is important, you need to keep in mind what's important. Right? That stuff doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is tab again and say the most essential thing, right? And inside of here, I could even go back and say the most, it's not going to give me a good one, the most important thing. I could say critical thing, crucial thing, the most essential thing, the most essential, the most important, the most vital, the most significant thing. And I'm just going to leave thing. You need to So I could say you have to, or you should, or you'll want to, or you must. They all make sense. Keep in mind, bear in mind, remember, take into account when promoting, whenever promoting, marketing, advertising, your blog, your site, your website, is that you want your, would like your traffic, visitors, website visitors to be, you want them to be targeted, specific, focused, doesn't really, you could say laser targeted. Do we have niche specific? Anyways, you can see what I'm doing there. Okay. Have people, have or get people, people who are folks, who are individuals, who are those people who are really, truly, genuinely interested in attracted to what you have on what you're offering on your site. They are genuinely enthusiastic about serious. Like, I mean, you could use a lot of those, but they don't fit perfectly, so I'm going to leave them out. What you're offering, what you are, right? That which you are offering, yeah, and that what attracted to that which you are offering, presenting, delivering, visiting the, coming to the, exploring the site, exploring. Now see, I would have screwed up here because it says visiting the, so you want people who that are interested in that which you are delivering, visiting the, coming to the, or exploring the, but if there wasn't, it would say exploring site. So exploring doesn't work, but exploring the does work. And site is also website or blog. Spending all your time perfecting your site layout, and that is not spelled right. So you can see how this can get really overwhelming when you're not used to doing it, right? So, you know, if it takes a little bit of time to pick it up, forgive yourself. It is tedious. It is boring. I don't love doing it, and I outsource it most of the time. But every now and then I'll do it myself. You want to know how to do your own marketing. Okay, you can outsource it all you want, but at the end of the day, you want to know how to do it. You want to know how it works. And so understanding this stuff is important. I believe it's important. And even though it is technical, you're going to end up with some really great content, and you're going to end up just widening that net that you can cast on the internet and get a lot more traffic to your site. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the spin, and I'm going to come back and show you guys what it looks like at the end. Okay, so I'm just kind of in the middle of finishing up here, but I wanted to come back and show you guys something that you can do, because when you're using PLR stuff, a lot of people have used the same stuff, and so if you've got a sentence that you don't really like, or one that you think doesn't sound right, so I've got this one, and the first sentence was, after an initial time investment with several sites, you will have your blog post blasted to over 50 sites simultaneously. So I'm going to go ahead and I've written one here. It will take some time to set up initially, but after that you can simultaneously post to dozens of sites at once. You can say posting to 50 sites at once is really easy once you've got past the initial setup phase. Okay, so say if I wanted to get rid of the one that was pre-written, the one that I bought, I could just click that and it got rid of it. So the only ones that are left are the ones that I wrote myself that came straight out of my brain. And so the cool thing about that is that you will absolutely never get hit for duplicate content that way, because there's nothing obviously on the internet that is the same as that, whereas this sentence is already on the internet because people, like, I don't know, hundreds of people have probably used the same article. So removing that, and you can do that as much or as little as you want to. Some people don't like to do that because they think, oh, I paid for the content, but really all I wanted was the idea, right? So I got rid of that. Now I've got the two variations, and you can see what I've done with the rest of the article is I'm starting to get kind of bored with it. The most important thing for duplicate content is the top, your title, of course, is really important for that to be spun really well. And your first couple of paragraphs, you can see I've gone very much in depth. I've even got, you can see I've spun to a fourth level right here. And if you don't know how to do that, don't sweat it. But there's very little green left in here, which means that it's all been spun. This green stuff means it's been spun down to the word or phrase level, and these ones that are still blue are just on a sentence level spin. So you can see I've got it now to 50% unique, and I can keep going with this, but I'm gonna, just for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna go to a spun article. So you can see obtaining more publicity for your personal web page. The worst thing is that a lot of great website content ever published never gets seen by anybody except the person who wrote it. So there's a little glitchy in here, so I go back and probably just fix that up. But the thing is, I'm just going to be taking this and cutting and pasting it onto an article directory site, right? So I can change that kind of on the fly. Unless you're using automated software, if you're using automated software, you really, really want to be picky about this stuff. I'm going to put a link down below because there is some automated stuff that I'd recommend, and there's some stuff I absolutely would not recommend. But you can see here, you can cut down on the amount of time you spend on the computer by automating a lot of your processes. Posting to 50 sites at once is really easy once you've got past the initial setup phase. If I spin it again, easy ways to get extra publicity for your personal website. Blogs with excellent information frequently never get any Google search traffic. It's not the most amazing piece of literary content ever produced, but it would definitely pass a human reviewer would believe that somebody really wrote this. Writing a website that nobody visits is a waste of your hard work. It is English, and I have never had a problem getting any of my spun content published by some of the really difficult. There are some article directories that are it's difficult to get published in at the best of times, but with these human reviewers, it's next to impossible if you don't do it right. So you can see that every spin that I put out is going to be decent. Now the only word of caution that I will give you is that when you're taking these articles, let's just, what I want to do is select all of it and copy it. What you want to do first is open up a notepad and paste it into here, because a lot of the article directories, when you go in to paste, it will have this weird, it's called spin tax. And it is a dead giveaway. Like if you cut and paste right out of the best spinner, it'll often have this weird stuff that you don't know is there. It won't even show up until you look at the HTML coding, which you won't do, because who does that? I do, I'm a nerd. But they will know that it is spun content. So just make sure that you paste it into here first, and then copy it again, recopy it, because now all of that stuff has been eliminated. There's no weird code in the background. So now you can just take this over to an article directory and paste it in, and it will get published. Just make sure that you, before you publish it, that you go through just with a fine-tooth comb, reread it, make sure that it all makes sense, make sure that it is all in good, clear English, and you should have no problem whatsoever getting this article published. You've got hundreds, literally, you've got hundreds of articles that you can post on hundreds of different article directories. I'm going to actually post a list of the directories that I post to most frequently that you want to post to places that have a little bit of page rank, so that they actually have a little bit of clout, that their backlinks are actually worth something. And in a video coming to you sometime soon, I'm going to show you how you can create tons of backlinks to those articles that you've created, and this is really going to create your traffic machine. So I hope that you guys found this helpful. I know the video is long, but there's just no way to do this video a short video. It takes time, but I just wrote 100 articles in the time it would take me to write one. So I think that that's pretty good use of time. I hope you guys found this helpful, and I will see you in a video soon.